Well, let's talk as a negotiator now. Let's say somebody did ask the question you just brought up, your price is too high. What should have a negotiator been doing up to that point, and how should a negotiator handle that question or objection, I should say?
Yeah. And there's really two separate questions there. One is what should they have done up to that point to prevent that? Number one, let's go there to prevent it, and then what to do if it comes up, because it will come up even if you do everything right. That's the reality of life. What you should be doing to keep it from happening is focus the conversation on the customer and what value looks like from their perspective. By getting the customer to articulate their vision of value, you are less likely to have the price objection come up. In fact, I maintain that most salespeople actually cause the price objection. You want to know why?
Please.
Because they bring up their product too soon. And if I bring up the product, needless to say, the first question I'm going to ask is, wow, why is it so expensive? And in fact, most salespeople think that my job is to tell the customer about all the value adds that my product brings. So I tell you about 10 reasons people use our product, 10 things we baked into it that are value add. Customer looks at that and says, well, gosh, I like 5 of those, but 5 of them are of zero interest to me. You know what you've just done? You have convinced the customer why your product is more expensive, because someone's paying for those 5 other things, and it's me. That's who's paying for it. So you've told them why your product is more expensive, or convinced them that your product is more expensive. Now, the second part of your question, which is what do I do when it does come up? Here's my go-to answer, and it's called performing negotiation jujitsu. Negotiation jujitsu means I actually use the energy of the other party to bring the conversation where I would like it to be. So I have 2 responses to that. So, Trace, play the customer. Say, gosh, Bob, your product's way too expensive.
Bob, I love what I hear, but your product is way too expensive.
Thank you for that. Let me write that down. What else? And so, what I've just done is I've told you I heard what you said and I wrote it down. And in fact, when I write it down, I actually smile at the customer as I'm writing it down. But then I say, what else is really important as you think about the potential of acquiring our product or service? So I've told them I've heard them, but I'm saying I want to hear other things too. That's one approach. Here's the second approach. Let's try it one more time because you're pretty good at role playing a difficult customer.
I've had my experience with them.
I'll bet you have. I'll bet you have. So let's do it one more time.
Bob, it sounds great, but your price is way too high.
So, Trace, if I understand you right, it sounds like this is a dollar and cents issue. Would that be correct, Trace?
Well, Bob, you explained 10 things that your product does. Honestly, I'm only interested in 5 of them, and I don't have the budget to pay for the other 5.
Well, let me go back now. I would never do that. I would never have explained those 5 things. So you're talking to the wrong salesperson. But let's reset this. And by the way, that is indeed exactly what would happen if someone didn't do what I suggested earlier. But let's assume I didn't do that. So now back to role play. Your price is too high, Bob.
I was told I had a certain budget, and we are not going to be able to make that budget with the number you just gave me.
Gotcha. So the real problem in your case is budget. It's not really dollars and cents. It's total dollars and cents. It's really budget. Is that correct?
It is that, and if I go over that amount, I cannot handle this decision. It then goes to another committee.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that with me. Well, let's address budget and let's now address dollars and cents because if you did sign off on this, you've got some explaining to do, right?
Absolutely.
So let's talk about dollars and cents and how dollars and cents gets impacted by what I'm offering you. So let's stop the role play now. Now, what I just did, 2 things. I want to shift the conversation to dollars and cents because I'm talking to one of the people who attended your last class. He talked about how he sells a piece of capital equipment that doesn't break as often as the competitors. So now he's able to talk to that company about dollars and cents. Let's talk about what it costs you for downtime when this other product breaks. Even though the customer said to them that their service team is great, they're in here in a flash every time something goes wrong. Well, that's great. But when they get there, still, how long is your system down and you can't produce? So I try to shift the discussion and dig down into what else is going on. And in fact, I wouldn't hesitate if this is going to another committee. I would welcome that because assuming you've been a cooperative customer with me, I'd want to find out what's really important, what other value this product brings, so that I can help you build a victory speech. Bill Ury, in his book, Getting Past No, which is another great book on negotiating that he's written, he talks about how do I build a golden bridge for the person that I'm negotiating with? In other words, how do I give you something that you can go to that other party with, that other committee with, that has you looking good? He says, how do I help Trace build a victory speech? And if Trace is a cooperative customer and he really does want my stuff, but he's limited by budget and knowing that there's other people involved, I'm helping Trace build that golden bridge for himself and build a victory speech. Read Ury's book. Ury's stuff is great. He's from the Harvard program on negotiating. And when I talk to people about negotiating, that's the methodology that I'm talking about.